Hey everyone, how's it going? Cell here, and welcome to a bit of a one-off video. Throughout my account, I've thought to myself, how many times have you seen someone compile all the 99s they've gotten into one video all the way up to max? Not very many times, at least I haven't really seen anything like that, so even though I wasn't making videos back then, I thought I would do exactly that, record all my 99s, with the intention of one day making a video talking about how I got them all, and this is that video. So before we get into it, if you enjoy the video, feel free to give it a like, comment, or subscribe. Everything helps me out a bunch, and it's greatly appreciated. Now let's get into it with some trademark shoddy live editing. Number one, we've got Herblore. This was honestly mostly through dailies. I did a lot of Jack of Trades and Penguins and weeklies and Irby Warby, things like that, so that is mostly attributed to dailies and such. Didn't really make that many potions going up to 99. Wasn't really bossing at this point, did a lot of like AFK skills, and speaking of which, number two is Archaeology. So I am someone who has a lot of time to AFK, if you catch my meaning, so yeah, this was a clear-cut choice. Archaeology is still one of my favorite skills, and there were a lot of benefits to getting to 99 early, including for Divination and Invention, fishing, cooking, etc. So, given my AFK time and what all that meant, I decided to go for 99 Archaeology. Specifically, I wanted the bait and switch for the cooking XP from fishing cooked fish, I guess. Also, the video didn't continue, so we'll just move along here. So yeah, great benefits from Archaeology. Number three is farming, kind of a passive one, in tandem with Herblore. Basically, I was doing both through dailies, essentially, so eventually picked up 99 farming. I didn't have to go through any struggle like a lot of people do to get player-owned farm animals, because I got spoon-fed every animal by the trapper, essentially, for the main player-owned farm. Not the range out of time, that comes a little bit later, but yeah, for the most part, this was do the trapper every day, past like 60, 70 farming, eventually getting chinchompas, yaks, dragons, zygomites, spiders, etc., and get farming up like that. Next up is mining, which should come on screen here shortly. And around this time, I was getting more into PVM, and one such strategy for acquiring gear is to go ahead and get your 99 mining, 99 smithing, make masterwork, and you can also get tier 85 damage and accuracy weapons in the form of Elder Rune. So that's exactly what I did. I had gotten up to like Vanquish, and was getting some subjugation from Krill, but I wasn't satisfied with how that was performing at Vindicta, and again, a lot of AFK time, so I just decided to go for 99 mining and smithing to get the Elder Rune weapons. Higher accuracy helps a lot there at God Wars 2 bosses, and of course Masterwork is something I'm still using to this day, so even more so there. Number five, of course, is smithing, right after that. Didn't talk much about training methods because it's kind of straightforward. I just mined the highest level ore possible and smith the highest burial sets out of those. Apart from keeping armor for the sake of using it, which I did a couple times as I was leveling up. And then I later, I think, disassembled those, but for the most part was just turning them into burial sets. After that, we have Divination, and this is mostly through caches, and I finished it off with engrams. I think I got up to around 95 through caches, and then stopped doing them as much, and eventually moved on to just gathering energy, which obviously is not a ton of experience, but it is a good way to get memory strained and such, and the engrams are ridiculous experience. Keeping in mind that I have the Divine Conversion Relic at this point, which means essentially 0 time spent depositing the memories, you just dump a whole inventory in after you gather them, so that was very convenient for finishing off 99. Next up, we've got Invention. Kind of goes hand in hand with everything else I've got going on. You know, I'm leveling up Archaeology, doing some more combat-related things, just getting a lot of Invention XP through that, and right now I believe I have the Matic of Time and Space equipped, so just was doing a lot of Archaeology at this point, and that adds up over time. Not sure there's anything really to note about Invention in particular. Oh, one thing is, you may notice my combat levels, as in the previous clips, were not that high compared to my Invention. And early Invention, I did not want to bother getting 70 range to do black salamanders to get the early Invention levels, so what I did was I just bought a ridiculous amount of stuff from shops, specifically the White Knight Armory. House built up early components. I had a decently high thieving level at that point, so I had a decent amount of money from safes, so basically all of that got dumped into buying shop stuff, and I disassembled things all the way to 22, which is where you unlock the skilling items, so like the fishing rod, omatic, and tinderbox and all that pyromatic, and augmented tools of other kind like hatches and matics. So with those, that's pretty much how I got all the way up to 99. And speaking of thieving that I just mentioned, thieving is number 8 here. Thieving is how I unlocked ports. I basically did the typical strategy of quests, and then Thieves Guild doors up to level 62, and then 62 to 90 I did safes, and 90 to 99 I did a mix of safes and elves here. I actually had 98 for a very long time, but eventually decided to pick it up in order to block the task. Nothing else too notable about thieving really, so moving on to number 9, which is attack. And I finally stopped being lazy and unlocked Vires by this point, which I probably should have done much sooner. I don't mind quests, so it was mostly just about getting other requirements to do so and such. So I ended up unlocking Vires, and then between just everything else as well, bosses give a ton of combat experience as well. I did a little bit of ED3 to get attack, so I was, I believe, well into the 90s by the time I started Vires, so that was an easy one to finish off there, and the first of many 99s I actually get at Vires. And then, not really a 99 per se, but I thought I would include this. The 10th thing on the list here, at least, is 120 Invention. So, again, just fires and a lot of Archaeology led me to getting a ton of Invention experience. Specifically, what I did was I had Dinosaur Hide, which I was disassembling for components, leveling up to 9 or 10, while I did Vires, and then Sun Spear as well, I was constantly disassembling, so just a lot of XP from that adds up over time to finish off 120 Invention. And then the actual 10th 99 here is Constitution. You can see me finishing this off at ED3, like I mentioned, did a decent amount of things there. I think it's how I got to 90 attack and defense for the sake of using my Elder Rune and Masterwork. So that's where a good chunk of my ED3 stuff was. And whenever I got close to a combat level, just so I could record it without worrying about missing it, I pretty much just ran over, did 10-15 minutes of ED3. It has been nerfed now. The XP, combat-wise, is still pretty good. But this is actually not the only method I use to train skills that has been nerfed, which is kind of funny, because I kind of figured none of the stuff I did would ever get nerfed. Anyways, moving on here. If I can find the play button. Excellent video quality. To follow it up with number 12, which is going to be 99 Strength. At some point here, back to Vires. Buyers, everybody knows how good they are, but they're essentially good for any combat training, prayer, firemaking, and farming. Some money as well. The farming XP is kind of pretty low compared to other things you could do, but it's something. It adds up. So 99 strength. Just, again, they're pretty AFK, so was not a big deal to finish out, but I did get quite a bit of XP from bosses and ED3 in strength as well. And then yet more archaeology. Got up to 120. I actually did this the really slow way, which is I did not want to do any of the staff spots at level 107 or 114 at reduced rates. I know what a lot of people will do is they will camp the staff spots as soon as they can, like 107, just excavating and then possibly restoring some to finish off 114, and then again do the 114 spot until like 115, then do the spear spot until they get spear or 118, and then move on to the highest level staff spot. I have a pretty big interest in doing a lot of tetra compasses, and that kind of started at this time. So after 99, I kind of always knew I would do quite a bit of that, so I worked towards, I think I got to around 105, 106, doing the regular like Dragonkin and then the Ceradominist painting spot, until eventually decided to go for tetra compasses, and I essentially did Green Gobbo Goodies 1 and Red Rum Relics 1 until level 115 Archaeology. Basically just doing the minimum collection completion along the way, and then going back to tetra compass farming. So I ended up doing, I think 90-ish, 94 total, up to 120 Archaeology. So again, did tetras until about 115, did the staff, or the spear tip spot, just excavating, and by the time I got the spear tip, I was able to restore a lot of the artifacts I had from there, which got me within a few 100k of 118. So then from 118, I just camped out the final staff spot. I ended up getting my staff a little bit after 120, but the artifacts allowed me to finish things off from there. Number 14 is going to be yet another combat one here, if I ever get around to switching it. But this one's actually a quest reward. I don't know why I decided to finish it off like this, probably just to switch it up, but again, I've gone over it ad nauseum. A lot of just bossing and general things like Slayer, etc. Give quite a bit of defense XP. So defense is specifically nice to have, and I probably could have gotten it sooner because of the cape effect of acting like a sign of life. You can actually equip a pocket slide item after that, so wasn't too bad to pick up there and put on the Anachronia cape stand to permanently have that effect. Coming in after that is 99 range, and this is the first of a couple that I got strictly because of circumstance reasons. So a clanmate of mine with a similar name got 99 range, and I was at 99 or 98, very close to 99. So again, I went to ED3 and finished it off just so that it could be a little funny seeing two people with similar names get 99 range at basically the same time. And you can see a little bit of that in the chat, I believe. Someone says, am I seeing double down there? Yep, pretty much. After that, we have 99 magic. Around this time, I was getting into some harder PVM. I had Scythe. I was doing just, more difficult stuff. You see I have the Zuck Cape here. Basically, I was in the 90s of magic when I first started doing Zuck. I was at the point where I had to boost to use Incite Fear and Exsanguinate, I think. Maybe just Incite Fear, but I was getting close enough, and it was kind of annoying having to deal with all that. And, just always nice to finish off the level, have the maximum damage that you can. So I did some Wave 4 Zuck farming, which is still pretty good to this day. Wasn't nerfed or anything. Decent for Sirenic Scales and Dragon Stones and other alks and things. So yeah, I just went with a little bit of that. Still viable to this day. Just figured it would be nice to finish off. Again, kind of circumstantial in that I was just passively working towards this in the background pretty much always. 17 is going to be 99 Slayer, if I can figure out how to spell. And I didn't actually start training Slayer all that much until very close to 99. I mostly got Slayer up through Corrupted Scarabs and Reaper tasks, including one of my earliest unlocks was the 50% XP bonus from Reapers. So that kind of carried here, and then this is another such method that got nerfed. You see I'm killing the Hydrix dragons in Elite Dungeon 2 here. They used to be like a several million XP task, but they made it so that the Hydrix dragons do not continuously respawn when you leave the dungeon and come back. So it used to be ridiculous XP, especially with the Scrimshaw of Sacrifice. You can see I'm not using one here because I was so close to 99, I just didn't bother. But I eventually did come back and finish off this dragon task with the Scrimshaw of Sacrifice, and ended up getting a few levels out of it. So, unfortunately not something you can do now, but it was kind of boring and overpowered, so I can see why they changed it. Number 18 is fishing, and this clip's really short, so I'll probably end up pausing it here, but fishing, again, just one of those things. Always need supplies. It was going to be a matter of time as to when I got it, so I ended up getting this in some of my AFK time. Basically, as I checked off AFK skills, I started moving on to other ones instead, so at this time, I think I had already gotten the Inquisitor staff from Archaeology, so I'm like, during my AFK time, I might as well be, fishing and getting blubbers and sailfish and all that for PvM purposes. Next up is summoning. So I actually procrastinated 96 summoning for the longest time, but eventually got that, and then 99 wasn't that far away, so it was mostly just secondary or tertiaries I was worried about. In the live clip of this recording, I actually say that I was essentially just waited until I got water talismans from Archglacior in order to finish off 99, because charms have never really been a problem. I did get a lot of reward XP for summoning. For a while it was my lowest skill, so my Tears of Gothics was going into it. So by the time I needed to actually train it, it was decently high level, and I could do some solid pouches with the charms that I had. Next up is crafting. Crafting is another one that kind of comes passively through PvM supplies. You get a lot of things like battle staves and orbs, gems and dragon hides that you can obviously use for pretty quick crafting XP, and you get those from PvM, so I pretty much already had the ability to easily boost for everything I needed, like Essence of Finality and Amulet of Souls, so it was just one of those that I eventually got close to. Also made a lot of flasks and crystal flasks, using those for Herblore and just general PvM. Early on, I did do 1 to 80 through, apart from quests and stuff, which are pretty solid early on, up to like level 40. I did gem mining, so I used the Premier Artifact with the gem bag, basically AFK gem mining, and that's how I initially unlocked Invention. Took that up to 80. I know a lot of people say get to 75 and then unlock Prif, and then do 75 to 80 at Harps. I'm not a big fan of that strategy, and I think Harps are insanely boring, even for somebody that AFKs as much as I do. So I did not prefer that strategy, and instead just went for the gems. You could do Dungeoneering crafting as well, which I think is the most efficient overall, but not something I ended up doing. So again, 1 to 80, mostly gem mining, and then 80 to 99, mostly PVM, supply, drops, and flasks. Moving on to number 21 is cooking. Obviously this had to come after fishing at some point. There is a little bit of interesting methodology here, so I'll pause this as well. Essentially what I did was, early on I was doing, you know, the thing everybody does. You fish, and then you cook them. I did a little bit of butter churning. Butter or cheese? I think it's cheese churning. Which, for those that don't know or haven't played RuneScape 3 as an Ironman, there are a set of perks you can get from the player-owned farm from totems attached to your animal pens. And depending on which animal is in it, you get a different perk. For cows, if you have a cow in each of the large pens that's fully grown, you get 4 times experience for churning. So you just churn the highest level thing you can, and I think it's a few 100k XP an hour. It's kind of annoying because you have to essentially drop stuff on your way back to an NPC near the churn that sells milk. So I didn't do that for very long, but I ended up eventually, as I covered earlier, getting bait and switch from Archaeology. I think I was like 70 something, 80 something fishing and cooking by this point, maybe a little lower. And so bait and switch at the Menifos fishing spot was essentially 1-to-1 fishing to cooking XP, maybe a little more actually. So I ended up gaining on fishing a little bit there. And then apart from that, as I started doing more swarm fishing and fishing for blubbers and such, the ratio isn't as good, so luckily that's covered by some PVM supply drops as well. There are a lot of bosses that drop raw sharks and rocktails and things like that, so that is where I ended up finishing off 99 from. So yeah, I have some cavefish here. I think that's from swarm fishing. I didn't end up going for the outfit, but I do think it's worth going for. Apparently it's pretty short. I still have yet to get it, but there's a 5% chance to double any food you cook, so that's pretty nice as well. Next up here is fletching, and the method by which I got 99 fletching is not the way I would do it on a new account because it's changed since then with a new update. So what I did was essentially a mix of arrow shafts, headless arrows, and bows rather, maple bows, yew bows, etc. Up to 52. And from there, I did a mix of headless arrows and more bows. Essentially, I did bows for components and headless arrows for XP. The reason I say I would not do that anymore is there's a new fletching training method that comes after the extinction quest involving the Zygamite care styling is what it's called. So that's pretty AFK, and you don't have to go through the pain of cutting arrow shafts and making them into headless arrows, which cuts into the effective XP rate for making broad arrows on an Ironman by quite a lot. It's still an option, and it's still nice in some ways. It's still competitive, I would say, but personally, if I go for 99 fletching on another Ironman, I'm going to do it with the Zygamite care styling instead, because you also get what you need for some tier 95 arrows as well, so just nice to pick up that supply along the way instead of having to dump GP into a daily and then make arrow shafts and headless arrows, such a ridiculous amount of them. Alright, moving on. I ended up picking up 99 Hunter after that, and you see in the last clip I was 98. This was yet another one I was at 98 for the longest time, but for some reason put off getting 99. This is another one actually that I would do a little differently, and kind of am doing a little differently on a different account, because even though okay, not really. I think I had 75 before Croesus came out, But prior to Crosis, hunter training is kind of a massive pain. It's really slow, super early, and then after that, it's just kind of annoying in a lot of people's opinion, including mine. Or you can relegate yourself to doing a daily, but it's kind of a long and boring daily and not that much better than regular training. So pretty much I did all that and a bunch of salamanders, red salamanders, black salamanders up to level 75, and then from 75 to 99, pretty much entirely like comp requirements and BGH. Comp requirements being like a couple hundred K XP. So again, no outfit or anything like that, just generally not worth it a lot of the time, especially on RuneScape 3. Even the 5% bonus, it's hard to pay that off. I will end up going for most of these outfits eventually as part of a completionist situation, collectionist even. So yeah, I was primarily wanting to do more BGH to get more dinosaur eggs. But with the release of Extinction, there came a much better way to get dinosaur eggs. So between that, I kind of put this off even further. Although based on my timestamp here, I got 99 Hunter a little bit, or around the time that Extinction came out. So it was nice that I was able to finish it out and not have to worry about going dry on dino eggs, because throughout all the BGH I've done so far, I've gotten 2 eggs as drops, and the expected number of them that I should have is like 8 or 9. So kind of ridiculous, and was a little salty over that, especially considering I'm like twice the rate on Dragonmatics, which are a rarer drop. Alright, coming on the last few here. 24th achievement coming up is going to be 99 Prayer. And this one I would do a little bit differently, I feel like, depending on what I was doing on an account. Vires are obviously always solid. Can't really fault anyone for going to 99 strictly through Vires, just because they're so efficient overall. But another alternative thing is to get a lot of bone drops from bosses and use the Powder of Burials, which is how I finished off 99. I think I did 99 or 97 and 99 through the Powder of Burials. It's just ridiculously good XP once you get like bone drops from bosses and such. I was getting, I think 2.5 mil. I think you get like 2 to 3 mil XP an hour just by burying the bones. So that is just pretty ridiculous once you have that stockpile going. Then number 25, shortly thereafter, is Firemaking. I was doing a lot of egg collection for the dino eggs that I mentioned earlier, and I was doing the actual firemaking training method since I did need XP, so I got a lot of XP through that, and then just whenever I needed to AFK a little harder, did these shell shards here, which you can ignite. It's a 3-minute AFK, and I think like 300 something, 400k XP an hour, so very nice. One thing is that there are quite a number of methods of training firemaking. You could just do bonfires, you could do these dino eggs and shell shards now, vires. You could also do the like superheat form, woodcutting type stuff, which I did consider doing, but eventually decided against. And firemaking itself isn't massively impactful. It's just that I am getting to the point now in the account that I am considering just getting 99s to be able to block off the daily challenges and pick up some others in skills I don't feel as much like doing. So, for example, every 99 I get that I can block off, that's a better chance of getting an agility daily challenge, which is going to be much better XP per hour than actually training agility. So plus it's just a nicer way to break it up for me anyways, doing things like dailies than doing like 4 hours of the Anachronia course or something like that. number 26 here is construction. To be honest, I did most of 1 to 70 through a limited time event, the Christmas Cracker event. So that was a massive boost. Otherwise, there are some quest rewards and such that you could get to help you out there. But then I would go straight into contracts, which is how I finished 99 myself. Again, for completionist style reasoning, I ended up, I do want to get the full outfit, which I still don't have. So just decided to finish off this guild through contracts, even though Croesus is kind of 100k XP an hour, thereabouts, by itself. Apparently like 9-10k XP a kill. So that's a pretty nice way to finish off construction, because on average you're going to need a lot of Croesus kills if that's something that interests you. Otherwise, contracts are fine, and the way I would recommend training, just in general, pretty chill and pretty good XP per hour. After that, back to another AFK one that we'll see here shortly. And this is another situation where I decided to pick up a couple of achievements on my way to 99 woodcutting. So you can see I picked up the hidden gem, shatter 25 crystal geodes. There aren't that many woodcutting achievements, but decided to finish them off. I did a lot of this. I feel like I didn't really focus on training woodcutting until like 80 or 90 somehow. I know in the mid game I did a little bit of Acadias, but other than that I was doing a lot of like, I'd make divine yew trees because I didn't really want to train woodcutting that much, and it's not that big of a deal to make a divine yew tree. So I know for a lot of like 60 to 76, I think is the quest requirement, I did divine yew trees and things like that, and dailies, etc. So then, in the back half of the skill, like 90 to 99, I was doing crystal trees for those geodes, which took absolutely ages, and a little bit of BGH in there as well. That is like token XP that adds up. And then I did largely, for the bulk of the 90 to 99 stretch, I did overgrown idols, just for the purpose of AFKing. They seemed like the most AFK thing that I was comfortable doing, so went ahead and did that. Only a few skills remaining here. So after this little clip, we'll see that I get 99 Dungeoneering. Also, I'm aware that the text box is kind of broken down at the bottom there. I'm just too lazy to fix it. So 99 Dungeoneering is kind of another one where I went to a full raid with some clan members, and everyone was getting like a ridiculous amount of broadcasts from drops, and I had been finishing off Dungeoneering from the Dungeoneering hole, so I went and just used some lamp reward XP just to get the extra broadcast that tacked on at the end there, so just to keep the chain going a little bit. Not the best use of points, but I enjoyed it, so it didn't really matter to me, and I wasn't really starving for penguin points or reward XP or anything. I'm not that big of a fan of traditional Dungeoneering, so the bulk of my XP came from elite dungeons. Either soloing ED3 or some solo and group token farming in ED1. So that's where the bulk of my XP came from. I did do a little bit of traditional Dungeoneering. I was mostly caught up on floors and all that, but I haven't ever really prestiged all that much. And group Dungeoneering wasn't much of a thing for most of the account up to this point, so yeah. I do plan on doing a bit more group Dungeoneering as I go for 120 eventually. So in addition to that, just elite dungeons from there on out. Did a little bit of the Dungeoneering hole as well, just because it's so AFK, and I had finished off my last real AFK skill, so figured I was close enough to 99 that doing the Dungeoneering hole would help out of it there as well, and that is a summer beach event. Then, second to last one is Runecrafting, and the main reason to train Runecrafting on an iron is to get rune pouches. And by this point, I have, I think, 1 or 2 rune pouches. Yeah, I guess I do at this point. Actually, what is this clip? Hang on a minute. Oh, that was just the end of the other one. I see. I ended up finishing this off with reward XP because I was trying to get 4 different broadcasts at the same time, but it kind of failed because my private was off. For the bulk of my runecrafting, up until I would say the mid-80s, a lot of it was reward experience. So starting off, I did 1 to 50 at Runespan just to get that initial level to enter the Runecrafting Guild. I think that's a pretty typical strategy. From then on, it was a lot of Daily Wicked Hood, quest experience rewards, soul obelisks in Menaphos, things like that. Didn't do much Abyss runecrafting until later on. I also did quite a bit of Effigy Incubator for runecrafting XP. And then the effigies you get from that, I was letting them fill up from farming and dumping the experience into runecrafting as well. Just because, given that the staff of Armadillo exists, Fractured Staff of Armadillo, I might go for 120 runecrafting eventually, just by way of getting XP here and there over time from training. And I think that'd be a pretty cool cape to get, so putting my reward XP into that when the choices are limited, as in the case of Effigy Incubator. But my active training from 85 to 99, of course, was through the Abyss with the Demonic Skull, mostly doing blood runes for XP. Only ended up getting 2 rune pouches as I finished off 99, so that's kind of unfortunate. Would have hoped for more, but I think I'm like a third of the way to my 3rd one at this point as well. So pretty nice, but could be better. And I know I'm going to have to go back for a number of rune pouches for things I want in the future. And of course, upkeep on various spells like Insight, Fear, and Exsanguinate. And then lastly, number 30. Everyone saw it coming. It's Agility. Agility kind of sucks. A lot of the other skills have useful methods for training them that are fun. So like BGH, I enjoy BGH. Haven't gotten sick of it after a few hundred dinos at least. We'll see if that changes in the future, but it's an enjoyable method and gives high XP. Agility, you kind of have that with the Anachronia course because of the optimizations you can make, and I haven't gotten super into that myself, but that is a potential thing that I'll end up doing. For the most part, again, reward XP and dailies. I did do some Anachronia training to finish off my double Surge Codex. Still never got double escape, still don't have it at the time of recording this, so I'll have to go back for that at some point. But my strategy for this was anytime I got an agility daily, I extended it and did the Barbarian Advanced course to work towards the 250 lap requirement for getting whatever it's called, the Elite Fremenic Achievement Diary. So you can see I did a double max here. We both got 99 agility and max at the same time, so I was perfectly fine with slow playing the last few skills just because I knew it was going to be a bit before we wanted to max. So I went ahead and did that, and then even post 99 I think I'm going to do some of the other lap-based achievements like getting the gnome piece of the outfit for the gnome advanced course, and I think you need 200 laps of the Prif course as well. I'll just do those through dailies, same deal. I'd rather just chip away at it a little at a time than dedicate a day to grinding it out or something. So yeah, that was pretty much it. You see me messing around with the max cape here with the ugliest colors of all time. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Would you have done anything differently? Do you just play more efficiently than I have and you max in 4 months or whatever? From my first 99 to the last, it was about 10 months worth of gameplay. So I did ramp up a little bit into that, of course, but a lot of it was, me slow playing most of the game, essentially. I figured I'd max eventually, but it was never really a main goal of mine. I just like the self-sufficient Ironman style, completionist style gameplay, so I also didn't do a lot of bossing on my previous main in the past, so coming back I wanted to get more into that, and so that's where a lot of my focus went. Anyways, that pretty much wraps it up. From here, there's quests and other comp stuff to come, Completionist Cape in the future, I'm sure, as well as Master Quest Cape and all this other jazz. So yeah, if you watch this monstrous 40-minute video, thanks a bunch, and I'll see you next time. Peace.